Hi, it's Kim and welcome to my channel today. We're going to start a pot from beginning to end, but first off I want to let you know that I'm doing a new recipe, the 1:1:1. I want 1 part perlite or vermiculite, 1 part Portland cement, and 1 part peat moss. But I'm not going to go through in detail about the mixing and everything because I know you've seen that before, but in case you're a beginner, you can see exactly how I do it. I am adding buff coloring to this particular one, and I'm speeding up the video so that it won't take 30 minutes just to show me mixing the Hypertufa. But on a previous video, and I'll notate it up here on the top of the screen, I did indicate that I wanted to make a custom-made pot for a new aloe plant that I had purchased. I purchased an aloe Crosby's Prolific, and I wanted the perfect round pot, just the right size for its growth as it already was, and just the right depth so it would go down into it perfectly. But that's what I decided to make, and I showed you the pot that I had chosen. But now we've got this all mixed up. I've got a pretty decently fudgy texture that I wanted, and here this pink one is the bowl that I chose. You saw that in that last video. Now apparently there's an optical illusion. It looks like I'm down here in my nightgown and robe, but truly that's not the case. I'm fully dressed. It's not 5 o'clock in the morning or anything like that, and I'm down trying to get this work done. But anyway, I've got this mixed up, and I know everybody uses a different technique. My technique is an innie. I put all of my ingredients inside so that the particular mold that I want to use takes that form that I want it to have for that particular pot. I just kind of take handfuls and peck it along the sides, cram it and press it just as hard as I can, peck it along the sides until I get, usually I go for about a 1 inch, maybe a little less than that, sides. I like a good strong side that is going to last, and I'm hoping my new mixture that I'm using, the new ratios, are going to give me stronger and pots that'll last a lot longer. I've had a little trouble with crumbling, but I really feel that I've traced it down to the runoff from the roof. I had a lot of my pots that were a little bit too close to the roof runoff, and I think that just repeated washing other than the gentle rain did a number on those pots. That's the only thing that I can think of. But back to the task at hand. I am pressing with my fist down in there. I want a nice deep bottom. I don't want the bottom to be too deep. I shouldn't say it that way. I don't want the bottom to be too thick because then it's hard to drill. I do my drilling of my drainage holes after the pot is dried and ready to plant. That's just my preferred way. Now I tried a lot of different inserts into this one. I like to keep the pot from slumping down. Sometimes the mixture slumps and falls down into the pot, and then that kind of ruins the shape you're going for. But I found this bucket kind of fit down in there just perfectly like I wanted it. Now in hindsight, I wish I'd put saran wrap around the bottom of the bucket or laid it across the top of that Hypertufa. It would have been a lot easier to get out, and doing things easier is our goal, of course. But it worked out. I got it out anyway. But what I did is put that bucket in there, and then I kind of built around the sides and packed it in nicely, got the sides as level as I wanted them, and then I did fill a 1 gallon water jug that I had and set it down into the bucket so there wouldn't be any floating where it kind of as it dries or cures, the bucket would be kind of forced up out of the Hypertufa. So that's what I usually do to keep that weight on it, and that worked. But again, I wish I had lined everything with plastic wrap because I think everything would have been so much easier for me. But get those top sides as nice and even as you can. That'll save you some work later of using a rasp to chisel that off. But for me, this seemed to work really good. Now my camera battery did die during the filming of this, but I couldn't change the camera battery, so we just kind of joined it in progress. I have finished the larger pot. My camera battery shut down. I have it already over here. I put a bucket down inside to keep the hole and prevent slumping. I put a gallon of water that weighs, what, about 8 pounds, so that is going to hold it strong and steady. But that's what my sides look like. And I am covering it with plastic for its tint. I'll secure that when I'm not trying to film. But the remaining portion I have done here, used up all of that, but I have several small, I think those are pint nursery containers, and I put the other ones down inside to hold the circle. These, it seemed to hold up pretty well, so I don't have anything inside. And I had a tiny bit left over. I think that's about a half cup. It's going to be a real tiny pot, but I think they look really good. So I'm getting ready to put these inside a bag. I may need 2. And then I will put them up, and we shall see what happens in a few days. Probably, I would say no more than overnight. But now I've got to get my gloves back on and get back outside and get these cleaned off. Okay, it's been 24 hours, and so I've pulled these out of their plastic, and they do look all dried. They feel like a rock right now, so I want to try to pull them loose. Now that one I did not put any inner lining to. This one I have sort of double-decked. So I have a total of 5 small ones. And then I have this larger one here. He looks really, really nice and hard. The bucket held down the inner portion. That bucket's full of water. So I'm going to try to pull these apart, but I'm going to need both hands to do that. Now, since I don't have 2 hands, I've got to show you this way. I am pulling the pot right off. It's just real brittle, and it's prying right off like that. I've already got this one out. You can see how nice that's turned out. I just have to smooth up the sides, or the corners, I should say. And I'm going to have a cute little pot. But this one, I would just continue to peel. And then I'll have to take the inner insert out, and that'll be my 3rd pot. Now I've got these pots out, and you can see, you know, they have little ragged edges. But we take the rasp, it's kind of a real sharp edge to it, and I kind of whittle that off. And you can see where I put that buff coloring in. It kind of just gives it an effect of, I don't know, subtle color here and there. It's not very dark. I'd probably have to use a whole bottle to get any kind of a deep dark color. But this turned out really well. I've got these, and I still haven't yet pulled that middle portion out of this little round pot. But I think they look real cute. And I'm going to see what I can do to kind of work on them. And I don't know, texturize them just a little differently. See what we can do. Okay, I took my rasp, and around this outer edge, I just scooted it around until I kind of shaved it loose from the bowl. And then after that, I just kind of gave it a tilt, and it comes loose. Here, I'm going to have to set this down. Don't know if there's any way of showing, but if you just tilt it over, then out it comes. And we have the first ready. I hope that's showing. Now we just have to get the inner bowl out. Okay, I have the bowl out. It worked out perfectly. There's the inner bucket that was sitting inside of it. And I just whittled the same along the sides. So that is released. There's the form. And here is our finished product. I think it looks really good. Looks nice, nice. Now I am going to work the rim of it and get a little bit. You can see a little bit where the rim needs to be trimmed, but I finally got it released. And I think it looks awesome. Okay, now I have filed off the edges like I want. I've got the bowl rewrapped in plastic so it can set another day before we try to leach it. But it turned out real well. Now for leaching this pot, I put it under about 5 gallons of water with about a cup of vinegar. I dumped it several times, refilled with the same, and then set it out for a week or two in the rainstorms. And that seemed to leach it very well, ready for planting. Okay, we've got the aloe all ready to be planted. And it is still with its blooming stalks, but I'm going to go ahead and risk it and plant it while the stalks are still ready to bloom. If it makes the flowers not bloom, I'll just, I don't know, take that in stride. But the pot is all ready. It's been leached and dried. And I've already drilled the hole in it. Well, I did 2 holes this time. Got that all ready. And then my coffee filter to block the water from, or I'm sorry, the soil from coming out of the plant. So let's get started. Okay, first thing I need to do is get the aloe out of its pot. This might be a little bit difficult. It's apparently been in this pot for a long time. But I'm just going to press it around. And again, if you saw my other video, this is the Aloe Crosby's Prolific that I'm going to be planting. Ready to bloom. It's coming. I can feel it. There it goes. And I don't know if I'm going to try and pull some of the little babies off or not. Oops. I may try. I might have to press it here on the bottom. Okay, let me get my hand back up under it. There we go. Now, just going to toss that down. Now I can see it looks pretty good. Looks like it's got some good healthy roots. A lot of pups all around the sides. You can see all those. And for right now, I'm just going to plant them as they go. I'll move some of these roots out. I've got a lot of soil in there.
can see how much it is. It's not soggy, not wet. It's really nice. Look at that little piece left over. Okay, I think it looks real good. Should I pull any of those out of there? I don't think I'll further traumatize it right now, but I definitely may do that later. But, okay, let me measure and see how far down it's going down into the pot. Looks like it's just about right. I think that looks good. Okay, so now based on the soil that I pulled out of here, I'm going to put a little bit down in the bottom, give it its own native soil, and then does this look fairly straight? Let me see. I think that looks pretty good. Okay, now what I'm going to do is pack the soil all around it. It looks good. It looks all the way around. You can see where it's kind of tried to go toward the light. But I've mixed up my soil. I have a little bit of the turkey grit in there and the regular cactus soil mix. And I'm just going to sprinkle it down here along the sides because you can see that I needed the side. Okay. Now let me swivel him around. I think this plant is going to be a nice addition to the indoor garden because it's already so huge, and with those big flowers, the aloe has a nice, I don't know, like little dangling bells as it blooms. I'm kind of anxious to see that. I had a little Hypertufa bloom over here that was so pretty, but this should be a different type of a bloom. Okay, you can see I've got just about an inch or so down inside for it to have additional growth. And I'm making sure that goes all the way down and get rid of all the air pockets. Okay, let me mix this soil with the other. Soil inside was a little bit more moist, so I've got a color difference here. Let me swivel it around a little more. Pretty tight fit, but that's how I want it to be. I think I've made it all the way around the outside, but I've got to make sure that we have no air pockets. I think it's looking real good. You can see down into it. And I think this color pot's going to work very well. And as you saw in the earlier part of the video, I used buff coloring, and it took quite a bit, I'd say 1/3 of that bottle of buff coloring to get just this much of the very light tan. So I really don't think it's too cost effective. I'm going to be experimenting, and I'll show you that on video, with painting and adding perhaps some kind of latex paints to the Hypertufa mixture and seeing what color I can get that way. Okay. Let me do some hard pressing. Make sure he's nice and tight. Or I should say she's about to have triplets. Looks pretty good. I couldn't have done my planting today without some help. My husband is manning the camera for me. I think I've got that nice and tight, but still with enough lip to hold a little bit of water as I pour it in. But I think this is going to be such a pretty plant. Now all I need is my brush. Let me clean it up on the outside here. And she'll be all ready for her close-ups. But I think that is wonderful to make a planter just especially designed the right size that you want for a particular pot, or sorry, for a particular plant. This one, I definitely wanted it to have that nice round effect to echo the size of my aloe, and I think it really looks good. I think it's turned out real well. The right size and shape. And again, here is the bowl that I used to make this pot nice and deep. And that's the planter I ended up with. And I think it looks awesome for this plant. And it's such a nice deep dish. I'm going to put this aside because I think that's going to work for a lot more plants. Well, I hope you liked this adventure of making a pot custom made for a plant. And we'll talk more about filling up these pots that are also recently come out from the mold. We'll get those done. And then my renovation of the garden spot. We're going to have to go all through that so you can see how I've changed that up. But thanks for watching. See you next video.